we go.
You're now live with the crown prince of glam metal himself. It's J0KeR's Electric Circus. J0KeR's Electric Circus. Keeping the music loud and the hair wild. On MetalMessiahRadio.com.
All right. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to interview edition of the Electric Circus radio show right here on MetalMessiahRadio.com, your metal music messiah. And I got a special guest on the phone with me right now. I got Janne, the guitarist and backing vocals of the band from Sweden, Grand Design. How are you doing, Janne?
I'm doing good, thank you.
It's great to have you on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure.
It's great to be on the show.
So, Janne, you have previously recorded with bands like Overdrive, Locomotive Breath, Mountain of Power, Paradise, Balls, Planet Alliance, etc., etc. Please tell us about those bands you was in.
Paradise was actually my first band ever to record anything. We just recorded like a 7-inch back in 1979 and released it in 250 copies. And then we formed Overdrive in 1980. And we were more like a heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal band. And we released one 12-inch EP and two albums between 80 and 85. And then we split. And we reformed again in 2003 and got a new record deal, and we're still playing. We're still 4 out of 5 original members, and we played in Japan and all over the place. And then I recorded 3 albums with the Locomotive Breath, which is more like melodic hard rock. We did 3 albums, and on the last album, Marcel Jacob from Yngwie Malmsteen's band played bass on that album. Mountain of Power is my tribute, where I pay homage to my heroes of the 70s, the more obscure 70s hard rock bands like Stray Dog, Captain Beyond, Mountain, and I do like covers of these 70s stuff, and I have a lot of guests on those albums as well, like Rusty Burns from Point Blank, and Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch, and John Norum and Kim Marcello, and the guys from Merciful Fate, and all kinds of people. I'm working on the 4th one to be released next year. Balls we just really did one album. It was like a continuation actually of the band Baltimore, but it became like a project. So it's a singer from Baltimore, and the other guitar player is Michael Nord Anderson, who's produced the last 3 Scorpions albums, and he plays with them on their live shows as well.
Oh,
and
cool.
What was it? More Zello. I did one album with, was more like a Kansas thing, and actually features the singer from Grand Design as well. 2 albums with Constancia, which is more like, we call it melogressive metal, which is like melodic but a bit progressive. Released 2 albums with that band as well. And just a couple of months ago, I also released an album with a project called Merriweather Stark, which is me and bass player singer Neil Merriweather, who's played with lots of 70s bands, and Lita Ford and Heavy Cruiser, and our album is more like 70s hard rock, like riff oriented, and this guy he's 74 years old, and his voice is, I mean, it's totally fantastic. So there's about a bunch of videos on YouTube. Merriweather Stark, and the album is called Carved in Rock, and we're actually on the same label as Grand Design as well. So Grand Design is my kind of main band nowadays, and I mean we're melodic hard rock, Def Leppard influenced, of course, and I try to keep busy.
Yeah, we've been knowing about the band ever since 2009. In 2009, Grand Design, you guys had Time Evolution. Then you had another one with Grand Design, Idolizer 2011. And we did a CD release party at another network where I was doing shows at back then. Then after that, we had Grand Design with Thrill of the 2014 Thrill of. We had Grand Design. Now we got some new Viva La Paradise by Grand Design. Tell us about the new album.
The new album is the band has always been like very if I go back to the beginning, the singer Pelle, he started the band as kind of a tribute to Def Leppard, where he thought that at the time Def Leppard hadn't done anything that was really interesting since like the Pyromania Hysteria album. So he wanted to do the album that he thought Def Leppard should have done around that time. And so that's actually why I started the band. And I wasn't in the band back then, but I had been working with him with the band Zello, plus that Locomotive Breath and Overdrive I recorded in his studio. So he said that he told me about the project, and he asked me to come up with a name. So I came up with the name Grand Design, and I did the logo, and I also came up with the album title, and I played a guest solo on the first album, but I wasn't a member.
Right.
And I also did a guest solo for the second one, and then after that, the guitar player left. So Pelle called me and said, "Well, you've already been so much involved with the band, so you better join us." So I joined the band on Thrill of the Night, the third album.
Nice.
And about that time, we felt more like he also said that that's the first album where he invited outside writers because he's written all the songs for the two first albums.
Nice.
So on the third album, I pitched in with some ideas. We had Eric Martinson from Eclipse to co-write two songs, and then we started doing quite a lot of live shows. So then around that time, we started to feel more like a band. And now on Viva La Paradise, we've done a lot of shows, and now it's really like a band. And I've contributed to 4 songs on this album, and the guitar player Dennis has also contributed more. So now it feels more like a band thing, and we're it's not just like Pelle's ideas, but we're all pitching in, and yeah.
Yeah, cool. We love the sound, and everybody knows it. That you do sound a lot like Def Leppard, and we love that sound. The way Def Leppard used to sound. I don't know what they sound like now, but yeah, it's great stuff from you guys. Always.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, what's the origin of the band name, and have you changed the band's name before or no?
Uh, like I said, the when Pelle started the project, he didn't have a name for it, so he asked me to come up with a name because I've been doing like logos for bands and that kind of stuff, and so I came up with a couple different suggestions, and the way he described the band, he really wanted like a grand Def Leppard sound. So I thought grand, that's a good word to use. So and since it was Pelle's own design of the band, so Grand Design. So that's kind of how the name came up. And with this band has kept the same name all through the uh, ever since they started. So
How did you
yeah.
first get involved with music from the beginning?
It was actually my mother had a guitar, an acoustic guitar, laying around at home, and she could play a few chords and stuff. But I wasn't that much. I was more into sports and things when I was like 8, around 7, 8 years old. And then my older cousins got me into because they were big fans of the band Sweet, and they got me really interested in that band because they played a lot of music and stuff, and so I got into Sweet, and then around I think it was like 1973 or something, they played Montrose and got into the heavier stuff like Black Sabbath and that kind of thing, and then I really got into music, and I started like plucking on my mother's guitar, and my my best friend. His older brother had he sold a motorcycle, and the guy didn't have all the money, so he got an electric bass, besides the money. So, and then he didn't play anything, so he asked me if I wanted to buy it really cheap. So I did, and then I kind of plugged that into my stereo, and that sounded really cool. And so that's kind of how I started, and started trying to play to records and that kind of thing. So now we formed our first band. And actually, I started playing air guitar before I started playing bass, but didn't we all?
True, true. What are some of the topics in your songs?
Pardon?
What are some of the main topics in your music?
Uh, I mean, Grand Design is not really a band where we dive into like heavy subjects, war and Satanism or that kind of thing. So we're more like uh, rock and roll, having fun. Actually, on the new album, some of the songs deal with a breakup of our singer Pele, about yeah the let's hear. Don't Ice Me Out is actually about bullying. Aim for the Heart is about his new relationship, and Love Shouldn't Hurt is kind of the ending of his old relationship. So that's they're kind of personal, but he try to not be too obvious, so you can put your own interpretations in them as well. But they're not that heavy subjects.
What I get about your music and everything, a lot of your songs is like, would you say they anthems? But like Rock and Roll Heart Attack, that's like an anthem song that really rocks. Tell us about Rock and Roll Heart Attack on your last record.
Oh yeah, that's kind of the we love those really big anthems like I Wanna Rock, the Queen's stuff. I mean, those kind of anthems, where the audience can just you don't have to be a great singer to be a part of the song, and you can just shout it out and really like grab the audience with that kind of song. So that's why we wanted to do an anthem like that. We felt that we had missed that before. So with Rock and Roll Heart Attack, we thought that was the one kind of the song that we've been waiting for. And on the new album, we have like Rock and Roll Hysteria, which is also kind of the same kind of type of song as well. And I really love to play those kind of songs live and to see the audience really engaging in the shouting and the fists in the air and that kind of thing. It's we really enjoy that.
What would your favorite song to play live be that y'all have in your repertoire?
Actually, Rock and Roll Heart Attack is one of my favorites. Um, I really love playing that one, and also You Got Me Good. It's a great, powerful song. It's really fun to play as well.
Tell us about your recent tour. What was it like, and where did you guys play?
The most recent things we did was we were in Chicago and we played the Melodic Rock Fest, and then we went to Sweden and played the Scandinavian Melodic Rock Fest, and we played in Chicago. I think it was 3 years ago as well, and we really love that festival. It was really fun, and the American audience is fantastic, and I mean we got to know quite a few people. The last time we were there, and it's like a big family gathering. We great people, and we just love them. And then the funny thing that was that when we got to play the festival here in Sweden, I think half the audience were from like Germany, Italy, and the US. So there was a lot of the fans that were in Chicago that came over to Sweden as well, which is really great. And now in September we're doing a tour of Spain. We're doing 6 gigs in Spain, which will be really fun as well.
Nice. You guys will be very busy, and I know it's pleasurable to play live for everybody as well. How has your music evolved since you began playing music together?
You mean in Grand Design?
Yes.
I think that's when we started, when I got into the band, which was just after Idolizer. We were kind of at that time we were like feeling off each other because before that it had been like Pelle's project or his band, and now we were kind of making it into a band thing, and we started doing more live shows as well. And so Thrill of the Night was the first real band album, and we was really fun album to make. So when we did this album, we felt that I mean, it's hard to because Thrill got a really great reviews, so we didn't want to disappoint anyone. And we had a lot of we had to make sure we did a really good album, and we felt that on this album we wanted to. We actually took the bold move of not doing a ballad on the album, and we wanted this one to be a more guitar oriented, a bit heavier. So that's kind of the direction we had, or the idea that we had when we started making this album. And on this album as well, I've contributed a bit more to the guitar, to the writing, and so what I do is I compose like parts of a song and I send it to Pelle, and he kind of feels different parts. I think I sent like 15 different riffs and stuff, and he's one of those guys that he hears it and he's like, no, I don't get a feeling for that. And the next one, oh yeah, I hear a melody instantly, so yeah, I'll use that. And I try to put in some more like riffs, heavier riffs, like in Too Late to Fall in Love, for instance. And so I think this we wanted to be a bit more guitar oriented. That's kind of the direction that we took.
Oh, cool. Tell us about the Sweden rock and metal scene. It seems like all the time there's always new bands and older bands coming out with great stuff. There's just a lot of great bands coming out of your area. Tell us about the scene in Sweden, as far as the music goes and the bands.
It's funny because I've written 3 encyclopedias of Swedish hard rock. The first one came out in 1996, and it was 1,000 bands in that book. And I just now in 2013 I released the third book, and it's 3,700 bands, and it's just recording bands that are released CDs or vinyls. And it's been growing really well, and I think that's. I'm also actually currently writing a book called The History of the Swedish Hard Rock and Heavy Metal. And I think
Cool.
because when I've been out doing, because I've been in Japan quite a lot as well, and they love the Swedish scene and they love the books and everything. And they always ask me, oh, so what's in the Swedish water? So what I'm trying to do with this book is actually try to find out what is it that makes us sound the way we do and work the way we do. And I think one of the things which is kind of special, I think, for Sweden is that we actually, as bands, we get an allowance from the government to rehearse. So we actually get money each month as a band from the government.
Oh, nice.
And we get free rehearsal space. So we have even there's even like amps and PA systems and everything that we can use for free.
Oh, nice.
So I think that kind of because when I was in Japan, we were there with Overdrive, and I just gonna this story I have to tell you. It's quick, but I'll try to do it quick. Okay. We're going to do a couple of shows in Japan with Overdrive a couple of years ago, and our drummer, he's been dreaming of going to Japan all his life. We didn't have the chance to go there back in the 80s. So now we were going there, and we were leaving Sweden on the Wednesday. And a couple of days before that, on the Saturday, we were headlining a festival here in Sweden. I'm in my car driving to the festival, and the phone rings, and it's our drummer, and he says, "I'm sorry, Janne, I can't play tonight." What? Why? I shot myself in the hand. What?
Oh, man.
Now, I mean, we have really strict gun laws here in Sweden, as you may know, but he's actually like an actor on a Wild West show. And they have guns, but they are they have like black powder. There are no bullets, but anyway, he was gonna take the gun out of the holster. It got stuck. Try to help with the other hand, and managed to shoot himself between the 2 of the fingers.
Oh, man!
So we were like, okay, what are we gonna do? So what happened was that we're gonna do an acoustic show in Tokyo as well. So we had to do like an acoustic show without him. But I mean, that night we didn't know how bad it was or anything. So on the Sunday, we got hold of him and I said, I'm sitting actually waiting for surgery now. I don't know how bad it is, but it's going to be hard for me to go to Japan. So you have to see if you can find anyone to fill in for me. So, okay, it's Sunday. We're leaving in 3 days. We're leaving on Wednesday. And his son is a great drummer. He plays with a band called Cry of Night.
Mm-hmm.
So we called him, got hold of him, and because he's been our drum roadie, he knows the songs and everything. So we asked him, could you fill in for your father? And he said, I would love to, but I'm going to be best man on my best friend's wedding on Friday, and I can't turn him down. I can't do this. So, okay. So we called 2 other drummers, Peter Svensson, that I've been working with in Constantia and Locomotive Breath, and Jimmy Lexe was also in Locomotive Breath. And finally, Jimmy called on the Sunday evening and said, I'll talk to my boss. I will get time off. I can do it. So how do we do this? So because we live quite far from each other, so we gave him the playlist of all the songs. We're going to do 16 songs. So we had to we had no time to rehearse, and we had to rebook all the flight, the tickets, and because when you go to Japan as well, you have to buy the train ticket from Sweden here in Sweden. They call it Japan Rail Pass, because it's really expensive to go by train in Japan. But as a tourist, you can buy it outside of Japan. Right. And so they had to send that to us by mail. So I got that on the Tuesday. I got the flight arrangements and everything fixed. So on Wednesday, we're sitting there on a plane to Japan. We had never rehearsed with Jimmy on drums, and kind of nervous. But the record company had set up. They had hired rented a rehearsal studio for us in Tokyo, and so when we got there on the Friday, we're doing the first show on the Friday evening. So we rehearsed on the Friday morning, and he played all the songs flawless. So cool. We were really impressed that he could actually do it, and we did 3 shows, and they went great. So, but that rehearsal studio was kind of the ones that we have, like the ones that we have in Sweden. But we had to pay $100 for 2 hours.
Oh wow!
But here in Sweden, we get that for free, plus that we get allowance. So I think that we going back to your question before about the Swedish bands and the Swedish scene, I think we have an advantage in that we can rehearse for free, and we also get money for it. For the money, we can buy like backdrops, or we can buy instruments, or we can buy T-shirts or CDs or whatever. Nice. So I think that kind of motivates bands as well.
What inspires you to do what you do with your guitar playing and being in a great band like Grand Design?
I mean, I'm a record collector. I got around 20,000 CDs and vinyl records, and I've been a record collector for. I was a tape trader back in the 80s. Traded the cassettes and stuff with guys all over the world back in 82, 83, and I still have the same passion for music. I mean, every time I go into I mean, we are actually 3 record collectors in the band. So every time we go out on tour or anything, me and Stefan and the drummer J0KeR, we always like take a cab and go to record stores and try to find as many records as possible.
Yeah, I'm a collector too. I love collecting CDs and albums and stuff. And, yeah.
Yeah, and I still have the same passion for music as I had back in the 80s. I still love music, love finding new bands, buying records. When I get a record in the mail, I always rip it open like it's Christmas. So I think I am I still have the same passion for music, and I love listening to music, love finding new bands and listening to new bands. I go to a lot of shows and concerts and festivals and stuff as well. So nice. Yeah, I just love music.
Who do you listen to? Who do you like on the music scene today that you hear?
Ooh, I have a lot of bands that I love. King's X is one of my absolute favorite bands. Nice. And I listen to anything from like really melodic AOR to and bands like Harem Scarum. I love more like kind of progressive stuff. I like Styx, Kansas, but also like heavier stuff. Like Clutch is one of my favorite bands as well.
Oh yes, great band.
The Company. Yeah, and I love to find more obscure stuff as well, and I love a lot of the like 70s bands, more obscure stuff like Stray Dog, Diamond Rio, Mountain, uh, Captain Beyond, that kind of stuff. And even though I have quite a lot of records and there are so many new bands being released, I still find stuff from like the 70s and 80s that I've missed, even though I think I know a lot. So there's still so much music to be discovered. So and yeah, but I think that King's X is one of my favorite bands. Clutch, as I said, I still love Black Sabbath, and there's a lot of good bands.
What's the ultimate direction of Grand Design?
Pardon? What's the ultimate?
Ultimate direction of the band Grand Design?
Um, I think style-wise, we've found our style and sound. And I think that I mean, this is who we are. So I think that we may, and I think we have actually on the two last album, got a bit away from the too obvious Def Leppard sound on some songs. So um, I think we'll keep in this lane and maybe bring in some more influences from like maybe bands like TNT, Boston, and that kind of stuff. We won't do a death metal record or or anything.
Right.
I think we found our kind of our lane, and I think we'll stay there. Maybe not too much outside the box, but some surprises. I think we will try to get in there as well. But yeah, I think if you I think it's like with ACDC or those kind of bands that if you buy an ACDC album, you kind of know what you will get, and that's I think the same thing with Grand Design. We won't do any prog metal album or death metal album or something. That's we are melodic hard rock. Actually, we I saw a German interview where they say that we played horny melodic hard rock. So that's I guess that's us.
Perfect. What advice do you have for people who want to form their own bands?
um, in this day and age, I think that it's you can't start a band with the goal that you're gonna make a lot of money and like sell a lot of albums because the market is not there in the way that it was back in the 80s. I think the main goal is, and that's actually still why we keep on as well, is to have fun. Uh, Play the music that you like yourself, and play the music that you feel comes from your heart, and have fun, because that's I think that's all what music is about.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah.
How can the fans gain access and buy your music? And how do you promote your music?
Oh, we have our websites, granddesignrocks.com, and we have a YouTube channel, and we're on Twitter, and we have our Facebook page, and we're on SoundCloud, and if you just Google Grand Design and Rock, RAWK, I'm sure we'll find a whole bunch of links for our stuff, and we have a web shop. On our web page as well, where you can buy stuff and you get orders. You can order signed stuff, and we're on Bandcamp as well. We're selling both the CDs and vinyls. We actually did a vinyl version of the of Viva La Paradise as well, and we reissued Idolizer with some bonus tracks. And we also did a vinyl version of that as well, and we got lots of like T-shirts and stuff as well. And so you'll find it on our website and on Bandcamp, and um, I mean, the latest album is released by GMR Records, and in Japan it's released by Rubicon Music, and their their stuff can be found just about everywhere. So um, just Google us and you will find it. But don't Google Grand Designs because that's a TV show about houses. So skip
Right.
the S.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to play a couple of new songs off the new album. We got Face It and Rock and Roll Hysteria. Tell us about Face It.
Facey was one of the first songs that we wrote for the album, and we wanted like an up-tempo, catchy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You just heard some brand new Grand Design with Face It. We got Jan Starka. He's still on the line with us here. And in closing, is there any shout outs you'd like to give to your fans and fans to be?
Well, I do hope that you're fans of melodic hard rock and that you will give Grand Design your ear and see if we can help rock you. So check out start with the new album Viva La Paradise and work your way backwards, and hopefully we can play live where you live as well, your living room maybe, and we'd love to play live. So hope to see you out there.
And it's an honor and a pleasure having you for the interview. Uh, Best of luck and great success to you guys in the future. And we'd love to have you back on the show again here at Metal Messiah Radio and Electric Circus Radio Show.
Thank you. We'd love to be back, and I mean, we'll probably have to release an album, a new album, very soon, so we can come back on the show.
All right. That sounds like a good plan right there, man. Thank you and God bless.